Hi everyone, it's Kayla. Today I'm going to talk about the education systems of the United States versus Australia. The United States and Australia actually have very similar education systems. A lot of the things are the same, yet these two countries have different scores on the global assessments, so we're going to take a closer look at their comparison. In the 2011 PIRLS reading test, the U.S. average fourth grade score was 556, which was a 16-point increase from the 2006 test, and 17% of the fourth graders reached advance. This was Australia's first time taking this test in 2011, and their fourth graders' average score was 527, which you can see is significantly less than the United States average score. And only 10% of their fourth graders reach advance. So you can see that the U.S. had higher reading scores and more students reaching advance. So looking at the United States TIMSS math testing, in 2011, there was an average fourth grade score of 541, which was a 12-point increase from 2007, and 13% of the fourth graders reached advance. For the 8th graders, there was an average score of 509, which was a 1-point increase from 2007, so it wasn't significantly different. But there was 7% of the 8th graders who reached advance. In 2015, there was an average 4th grade score of 539, so it was a 2-point decrease from the 2011 test, yet they had 14% of the 4th graders reach advance. So they had more students reaching advance, even though the average score went down by 2 points. And for the 8th graders, they had an average score of 518, which was a 9-point increase from the 2011 test, and 10% of the 8th graders reached advance. So the 8th graders ended up doing better. For Australia, in 2011, their average fourth grade score was 516, which was actually the same score as in the 2007 test. 10% of the fourth graders reached advance. For the 8th graders, they had an average score of 505, which was a 9-point increase from 2007, and 9% of the 8th graders reached advance. Whereas in 2015, the fourth graders' average score was 517, so it was a 1-point increase from their last test, yet only 9% of the fourth graders reached advance. So their average score went up 1 point, but their percentage of advance went down by 1%. The 8th graders' average score was 505, which was the same as in 2011, yet only 7% of them reached advance. So their percentage of advance actually went down and their score stayed the same. So when we compare the two countries, in 2011, we see that the U.S. had a higher average fourth grade score, a higher percentage of fourth graders reaching advance, and a higher average 8th grade score, yet Australia had a higher percentage of 8th graders reaching advance. But in 2015, U.S. had higher scores and higher percentages for both grade levels. And now we're going to take a look at the TIMSS science scores. So in 2011 for the U.S., their average fourth grade score was 544, which was a 5-point increase from 2007, and 15% of fourth graders reached advance. For the 8th graders, they had an average score of 525, which was also a 5-point increase from the 2007 test, and 10% of the 8th graders reached advance. Whereas in 2015, the fourth grade score increased by 2 points to 546, and their percentage of advance went up 1% to 16%. Whereas the 8th graders, their average score went up by 5 points to 530, and they went up to 12% for reaching advance. In Australia, in 2011, their average fourth grade score was 516, which was an 11-point decrease from 2007. So the fourth graders actually performed lower, and only 7% of the fourth graders reached advance. The 8th graders had an average grade score of 519, which was a 4-point increase from 2007, and 11% of them reached advance. whereas in 2015, the fourth graders' average score went up 8 points to 524. So it still wasn't as high as their 2007 score, but it did increase from their 2011 score. And they also had 8% of their fourth graders reaching advance. Their 8th grade average score was 512, so it decreased by 7 points from their 2011 test, and only 7% of the 8th graders reached advance. So the 4th graders did better, but the 8th graders did worse, which was the opposite of what we saw before for the math. When we compare the two countries, it's the same trend that we saw for the math scores. So in 2011, the United States had a higher 4th grade score and a higher 8th grade score, and more 4th graders reaching advance, but Australia had more 8th graders reaching advance. And then in 2015, the United States had higher average scores and a higher percentage of students reaching advance across both grade levels. So looking at some of the different facts between the two countries, they're very similar. Like I said earlier, they have similar education systems. So in both countries, they have 30 students per class. The teachers have to go to a university to be trained before they can have their own classroom. Schools have their own computers and internet access. And in both countries, there's gifted and talented programs for their high achievers. Yet in Australia, they do what's called foundation studies. So for students who are about to graduate high school but aren't quite academically where they should be before entering a university, they do a foundation studies, which is a 1-year intensive prep course to prepare them for their university course when they enter their undergraduate program. So some of the different teaching styles are actually the same. There's teacher-directed learning in both countries. There's some student-centered learning and student research. There's group projects and presentation. There's e-learning and technology. There's interactive classrooms where the teachers and students interact together to help the students learn in the classrooms. And in the US, we actually have project-based learning, which is becoming very popular with our new STEAM standards that are coming out. And then their assessment methods are almost also the same. There's research projects and group projects. There's presentations. They can use technology like PowerPoints. There's class tests. They have national and state testing programs. But in Australia, they're able to use podcasts or vodcasts for presentations. And then in the US, we also have student observations, which is part of our formal and informal assessments. So to summarize, the United States and Australia have very similar education systems. However, American students are usually performing higher on these global tests that we have. So it begs the question, is this just pure luck, or are American students doing something different from Australian students? So I'd like to thank you for paying attention and listening to my presentation, and I hope that you learned something. Thank you very much.